Hey guys, what's up? Johnny Marksman here, and today I'm here with the one, the only Mr. Sleepless Skies. What's up, Simon? How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Good to be here with you. It's been a while since we spent some time together, so I'm looking forward to this.
Hell yeah. Well, today we have the great pleasure of running you through exactly how we produced and signed a track to Purified, which is our brand new track, Ruminate. So we're going to talk a little bit about like the process, a lot about the production, and even a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, which if you're wanting to sign to labels like Purified or whatnot, you should need to know. So look, let's just dive straight into it. So I am going to share the screen and sound. Here we go. So this is the final project. Now, in terms of like what, like how this collab started, I was just playing around on one of our like Friday studio streams that we do every week, and I was came up with this idea, and then I sent it over to Simon. I was like, "Hey, what do you think to this? Do you want to work on this?" And well, I believe Simon really liked it and did some work on it, and something very funny happened, didn't it, Simon, afterwards?
What do you mean? Sorry.
As in, like, the track that we made ended up
Uh,
um, getting a little bit of an issue with the label. Let's just put it that way.
well, we signed a track that we'd written a track, we really liked it, and we'd sent it to a few labels, and it got signed, and then within I think a week or so of literally signing it to another label, Purified came back and were like, "Oh, we want it." And so we
Yeah.
were like, oh shit, now we've got two homes for the same track. And we love both the labels, you know? So then we were like, oh, don't worry. I think you sent an email back going, don't worry, we've got another one. And then we were like, right, let's go write another one quick.
Yeah, I was like, let's not let this one slide, and we basically just used the same project file to create this new one, and we came up with like a little quick idea, and then I sent it back over to Simon, and you came back with what resembled mostly this, which was really awesome. So yeah, it all worked out. Sometimes you have to think on your feet and
But
come up with another track in about 3 days'
there's
notice.
quite well. I tell you what, there's two good points on that. One is time deadlines are your friend. Like set yourself a deadline, be like ruthless with it, and you will get more done. And secondly, it's a really good idea to reuse project files because, like, a lot of the
Sure.
stuff in here, structure, some of the drum programming, like transition effects and stuff, it's all reusable. No one's going to notice that you used it in two different tracks. So, reusing project files can be quite a nice way to get a head start.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, honestly, I've used this project file a couple times more as well. So, um,
I want my royalties for all that.
of course, of course. Well, let's just dive into it then. So, yeah, I mean, Simon, do you want to run them through the like the pianos and the harmonics side
Should we
of
have a little
things?
scan through just quickly, just so people can hear some of the main bits of the track,
Oh
like
yeah,
so.
we should probably play the song so people know. I'll play it
Play.
just from the
Yeah.
you got this is like the main theme, and then there are these like vocals that come in later, which are really nice. They're like these sort of yeah.
Yeah, so it's that really kind of uplifting, but also a little bit melancholic kind of melodic house sound, you know, where
Yeah,
it's very groovy house beat, but then it's got almost a quite a trancy sound selection in the main elements, and it's got this feeling of nostalgia, which I love.
yeah. Hence the name Ruminate, eh?
Hence
Well,
ruminate.
yeah. Look, it's obviously this is just like the climax of it, but it does like build quite nicely if I guess we do say so ourselves. In terms of like when it starts off, just with like the piano chords over here. You know,
Yeah, actually the chord progression on this is kind of interesting. I remember you sent me a progression Oh, have you
I
got
don't think my
labs?
labs is working.
It does this. That would be annoying, wouldn't it?
I'll tell you what, I'll just swap it out for it's a shame because it was a nice piano, but I'll just swap it out for this piano, so at least people can have some idea what it sounds like. Maybe we need to use my classic one, Link's Ballad.
Yeah, it's definitely got more top end than soft piano, but it'll do. So
Yeah,
if you open up the MIDI file for that chord progression, it's quite
yeah.
a good example of like it's quite a simple progression, but a lot of the times that you'll see there's not a lot of like variation between the notes, but a lot of the times what we're doing is we're playing the same chord again, but we'll just shift a note into the relative major or minor.
Mm,
So if you play through it, and that's actually the intro chord bit.
yeah.
Where's the main chords?
Oh, you want the mains? Okay.
Yeah, the main chords.
Oh, here we go.
There. So you
Yeah.
see that the root note there
Mm,
wasn't going down with it. That
right.
chord, it's that chord there at the end of the bar. So we've got
This
this
one.
call and response.
Mm.
See that
Getting a
chord at the
nice.
end and the
Yeah.
chord before it are actually, I think, the same chord, just virtually the same chord, just differently spaced. And so it's just using spacing and the way that the chord is organized to create a sense that it's a different chord, even though it's the same. And that gives the whole track this kind of coherence. It's not There's
Yeah.
not a lot of chords actually used in this. It's a lot of the same chords repeated, just with ever so slightly, just tinkered with ever so slightly in terms of their voicing or
Yeah.
shifting to
And this
relative
one
major
as
minor.
well. This you've got like a sus2 chord there, so you're like withholding the tonality of it because like
Yeah.
most of the actual context of the chord comes from the third and seventh, but like here, because you just don't have the third in, it's emotionally ambiguous.
Yeah, because it should kind of go duh down a
Yeah,
note, but it doesn't. It goes duh, which is the wrong note for the chord to finish on for a track in this key. But it makes it more interesting.
exactly. So sometimes you got to do some rule breaking things. And we also had, oh no, Labs isn't working here either. We don't have any of the pianos. What a breakdown this is going to be. Well, this is like a classic little thing that we have here, which I'll show you. This is some secret sauce. This is our like we have like a melody over the top, but then we also have Portal, which is in parallel. Where was it? I did just see it. Or am I making that up? No, I am making that up. We don't have Portal on this one. It's on. So you have this melody over the top, which
Yeah.
is super nice. And again, mostly the same, but then you have a couple of little variations towards the end.
It's those little passing notes. Those
Right
little
there,
passing
yeah.
notes that give you that sense of it being human, like a real pianist, the way a real pianist would play
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, there's always like a little bit of variation and randomness to it. Well, not, I wouldn't say randomness, but like sense of unpredictability, which just makes it, as you say, feel like a real pianist is playing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really play piano, so I'm a guitarist guy myself, but you have to try and make it feel real in a lot of ways. And this here as well is something that again we need to swap labs out for again. But this is something that I thought it was on this channel, but it's actually this channel where I do this in so many of my tracks now. If you have a parallel chain and then you actually just turn off, you can have the dry chain in, but this can create some like really nice ambiances if you have like granular effects like crystallizer and portal in parallel. So we have this
Nice.
like over the top of this. It's very subtle here, but if you bump it up in volume, maybe. Oh yeah. Get some
Yeah.
nice action there. But you don't actually have the dry
Yeah, yeah,
sound
yeah.
in. The dry sound would be here if you listen. And that's nice. But what I do in so many tracks is I just basically play like nice sort of color harmonic notes and just smear them out in the granular space. So that was like a little thing that I threw in there.
Yeah, it's really
Um,
nice, man. And it's also that thing of like when you come to like add layers, not necessarily just adding a whole other new part, like not writing a whole other new part, but actually just thinking, how can I decorate the parts that I've got with just some ear candy and nice little layery bits that kind of add to the texture of it rather than fighting for more attention.
oh yeah, 100%. A lot of newer producers and even intermediate producers will fall into that trap of just like more, and throwing in everything, including the kitchen sink at it. But actually, like the instruments you already have can be the best like effects and granular
Mm,
textures things you can throw in the background. So,
mm,
um, but yeah, in tracks for like Purified or like this kind of melodic housey emotional sound, you do need a lot of these like subtle details in for it to stand out. But yeah, I mean that's mostly the pianos. I mean it is a lot of this track is the emotion from the chords. So I guess like altogether you have that. And then you got some supporting pads here as well, which I think they're just playing the same notes as the chord progression. Yeah, I
same.
think they
Just
are.
this is just for depth.
Yeah, so together you have this.
Yeah, this is
So
just
these
for
are
nice.
actually super subtle. And do we open up the filter? I think we do. Oh yeah, towards the end. It's a bit. Just bump them up a bit so you can hear it. And there's also like that subtle LFO on. So it's like really, really quite subtle in the background, but it's just adding a bit of weight and body to the pianos.
Yeah. I quite
Just
I always like to do that. Layer a pad with a piano. I think it complements itself really nicely.
100%,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess while we're on the pads and the harmonics, we've got like a bunch of other
Mm.
stuff in the background, like these like high beeps, which are not playing for some reason.
What's going on there?
Is it because oh, I need to log into Splice?
Can you can you tell we haven't looked at this project for like a year?
Yeah. So yeah, you have this that sound. Now, if you can imagine it just a little bit more granular with with Splice and Portal, yeah, that's just like a very subtle background element. And then you also have another LFO pad here, which is this is very, very subtle. Like just adding some additional support. If you bring this in a bit louder. But yeah, a lot of this track is some very like subtle elements just supporting the main idea, which is really, really quite cool. So altogether, you have like the harmonics, which would sound like this. I think it's all in like this harmonics and piano group. Um, it provides like the canvas for everything, which is really quite nice.
Yeah. And that the thing about things like the LFO pad is it's constantly giving you a sense of like building, and so you can play with the release and the cutoff on those instruments to kind of constantly build towards the end of like an 8 bar loop, and then it gives you the sense of driving energy through the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like these subtle little automations really do add up. You see me casually trying to log into Splice so we
Do you want
can
to just
get the
stick your password on the internet as well?
yeah,
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 for
yeah.
that
This
for that
is
on
this is
YouTube.
have
Yeah,
my account, guys. Feel free to use
yeah,
it. Um, yeah, we also have these like strings as well in the this is like the transition into the main break, just to add a bit more texture here. So we have this
yeah.
BBC symphony orchestra thing going on, or harmonic, philharmonic, I believe.
And
Just
this isn't the same chord progression. So this is what I like. I often will like to do this in tracks. Have like a contra chord progression that's like a
Mm.
bridge. So you kind of break away from the story of the track for a little bit and have like a little side story, and then you go back. And when you come back, it's such a like a feeling of like, oh, it's like, oh, it's so satisfying because you've made them wait for it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also like something that they'll do in well, I guess like more contemporary pop songs or whatever. You'll have like the middle eight, which is like a slight variation between verse and chorus, or like going
Yeah.
into the final chorus. It's super nice to do that. But yeah, I do like a little change up, little B section thing going on here. But yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's mostly. I think that's all the harmonics, really. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of the mixing, but it's just mostly simple stuff like bit of delay and reverb, and nothing super crazy going on other than Portal, which we can't even use right now.
Well, I guess
um,
it's just about the one thing you got to be careful of with all this stuff is if you're going to layer sounds, you got to think really carefully about the EQing of those layers
mm,
and the positioning of those layers. You don't want everything fighting for the same frequency spectrum. So I think there's quite a bit of EQing going on. Like pianos take up so much space. So then you're kind
oh
of
yeah,
thinking about how do you work around the piano, and find spaces for other things.
yeah. So with the pianos here, we've got this. These pianos have quite a lot of low end energy on them if you left it untamed. Here, like all
Yeah.
that bass, but that's gonna get cluttered with the actual bass, which I guess maybe we talk about the bass now. But moving on to a nice segue, let's
Mm.
go over here. So we have like actually a few bass layers. We've got, well, two components which are like a sustained bass. So, and then you have like a deep stabby subby bass.
This is
And
this
this
is
is,
a very trademark marksman sound. What's in this one?
oh yeah, this I've had this sound for years. I just made it one day when I was like fucking around with sound design. It's basically if you just take a kick, most kicks, if you choose like a pretty clean one, if you remove the initial transient and the pitch bend, it's just usually some sort of like distorted sine wave, but it's got like a fair bit of punch on it. So I was like, okay, why don't I make this into a stabby bass sound? And you just run like a shitload of distortion through it, basically. And if I were to take this off, this is just a kick.
Yeah, you just
And
don't want that initial kind of.
exactly, but without all that stuff, it becomes a bit more soft and like stabby. But yeah, I use this all the time. I absolutely love it.
It
Um,
sounds
that's
really plucky, but what's cool is I've heard this sound in a lot of your tracks when I've heard them out in a club, and it really cuts through as a bass line, you know?
yeah, yeah. I use it in most tracks, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, because of that exact reason. It's just so punchy and thumpy. Now, the only issue is you can't really automate it, and if you there is a limitation to like how far you can pitch things up before it starts like glitching out because of the warp. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's an awesome little secret I have there.
Mm.
Um, but you can make it yourself. Just shave the front off a kick. There you go. Um, in terms of the rest of the base, though, we have like three layers to this main base. You've got your just sub layer, which I believe it's a triangle wave. Now, this just gives it a little bit more harmonic richness than using a sine, which most people would use. But then you've got this.
Do you know what? I do like using a triangle or even sometimes a square and cutting the top off,
Yeah,
just because then you get a bit more of that like cut through. I mean, it's fine to use a sine wave as well, but like sine waves can sometimes get a bit lost, I find, like if you've got a lot of other stuff going on around it. So,
yeah. I even
um,
just use a saw wave sometimes, but
yeah,
obviously without the top on. But that just gives it a lot more warmth and body.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, you ideally want it to be clean and mono, so that's why we have it separated. But then we have like this main layer here, which is a bit more in the mids. Well, it is in the mids. And it's got a bit more stereo information on it. Like, you can see it's quite wide here. It's on both sides.
Yeah, if you look at the there's a bit of wider on it, and where is that? What's the return channel that's going into? Because I have a feeling it might be. Yeah, so
And even widener.
yeah, I this is kind of a nice little trick is to use a return channel for widening sounds.
Mm,
So if you put your Hass effect on the return channel and then cut off all the bottom, then you can blend in a bit of widened sound. But what you don't, but you've still got the original sound down the middle for mono speakers.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
stops you getting
exactly.
all sorts of weird phasing and mono compatibility problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if you solo this, you have like it's quite subtle. There's not like a whole lot going to
Very
this.
subtle. Because you don't want to be adding loads more volume because then you are going to get more problems again, right? So it's
Yeah,
very
exactly.
subtle, but the thing is, it's right on the sides, so your ears don't need a lot of it to pick up that. It's a psychoacoustic effect.
Yeah, it's a classic, been around for a while, the good
It
old
is.
Haas effect. But yeah, then like this is where most of the timbre and flavor comes from this layer.
Mm.
But we also have this high layer, which is like a lot more sort of focused in the mid range. It's up a few octaves. It's got the lows cut out, and it's got a pretty obnoxious phaser on the top, and also micro shift, and also filter freak. Which what was this doing? So it's got this like bandpass filter going on. So a lot of stereo and weird effects, but this layer is like actually quite tucked behind everything if you listen. It's more of like a textural layer for the most part, but we only bring this in on the final drop. We'll talk about this little section here a bit later on because this is super fun what we did here, but we only bring this in on the final drop as like an extra little uplift to the track, and often doing this can just make it feel like there's a bit more to the climax of your track as opposed to just doing the same thing again. You always want to be building further and doing more each time, even if it is subtle.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, we just threw this crazy layer in, which was fun. Um,
And the other thing to maybe mention on those layers on that top bass line, if you look at the automation, you'll see like how much we're automating that all the way through. So
oh yeah,
not that so that one, but also the one on I think it's the one on above it, the one that's just
oh
called
yeah, this
is that
one.
right? Yeah. So you can see how there's so much automation there to try and make that bass sound not it's not just like a nice straight line. It's like actually moving with the notes. See how like it opens when the notes are high and then it closes as the notes are going down and then it
Yeah,
opens as it goes high again. And
like this
that
little one here, for example, opens up a lot
exactly
more.
that it gives it that sense of like that the automation is actually kind of musical. You know, it's got its own musical quality.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you and I guess it goes from quite extremes to from over here where it's very like dark and deep compared to over where was it? Over here where it's like pretty aggressive. And then it's moving with the flow of the chord progression.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, these little things you throw in are always gonna bring things to life. But yeah, automation is just so important in terms of the flow and tension and release of a track. Um, Hence why we spent so long talking about it over many months. But yeah, together you have like, oh, just so that the stab plucky bass can cut through the mix. You do have this. We've used Pro MB, which is like multi-band sidechain, so that if you listen with kick as well, so and then probably should solo this as well. Just helps it poke through a bit more if you take that off. It gets a little bit lost compared to there, where it like pops through a little bit more. You see it just hammers the low end a bit. Now, if you're on like headphones, you might not notice that much, but like I'm on my headphones right now, but like through my monitors, it is very noticeable when you see it. And in the club, you can like actually have that be way more driving. So yeah, that can help just poke through a little bit more.
I mean that
Um,
can be the difference between that hearing that sound as a piece of a rhythmic like a rhythmic element and just hearing a big wafty like rumble.
yes, precisely, and that is the function of this particular sound because I wanted it to be like. I think when we made it, we're like like the harmonic bass was nice, but then we just felt like it needed a bit more low end rumble, not rumble, but low end rhythm,
It's
so
a
to speak.
groove, isn't it? Just give it
Yeah,
groove.
'cause I think this is the problem with a lot of melodic house stuff. Like it's it's harmonically nice, but then it isn't really suitable for the club because there's just no like low end groove. Just like oh wow, how beautiful and melodic this is, but you need something in the low end, like if you look at any other genre like house, tech house particularly, is ultra groovy. And even like certain techno styles have like a lot of sub groove. That's what's making you dance in the club. So if you don't have that, it feels a little bit flat, at least in my opinion. Um, so yeah, and then like that's kind of it with the bass really for the most part. Now I guess should we talk a bit about the drums perhaps?
Let's do it.
So drums wise, I mean, there's quite a lot of layers and Um, it looks like we should just use loops for these. Oh no, we did have some program drums. But yeah, there's a lot of layers here. So let's just go through them. This is how they sound all together. So a lot of what I like to do is like if you we just solo kick here. I have like I'm a drums guy, as I'm sure you guys can see with the drum kit behind me. We have like these. I call them my program drums, which will just be like the backbeat and the main parts of the drum. So here it's just like you know kick, snare, offbeat hi-hats with a few ghost notes added in. So the ghost notes are actually really critical to groove. Rather than being it's so you have like the accents on the backbeat. So 2 and 4, bah, and then these little really really subtle quiet claps just like help enhance the groove. Without them, it doesn't feel as groovy. So yeah, I just chuck some low velocity notes in there. But then also we got like a ton of shaker layers here. So some of these are actually like quite subtle and quiet. So got like this one. This one's a bit more on the high range. This one's is a little bit more like dynamic by the sounds of things, and
Yeah.
this one
I like to
has a little
do
bit
that,
more of
like
like a
sort of layered shakers, to give lots that adds all these little textures in together. It's really nice.
yeah, and they've got like a lot of like together like all the accents like sum in quite an interesting way, so it makes it feel a little bit more alive.
Yeah.
We
And you
also
just have to
have
you just have to kind of experiment with that. There's no logic to it. Just kind of pull stuff in and see what works.
mm, oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, you just want to make sure that these kind of things are probably not too loud in the grand scheme of
Mm.
things, otherwise like your drum's gonna get ultra cluttered. Because we also have like the 16th rolling hat here, which this has a vocoder on, which oh we did some automation on this as well. Did we? No, we didn't. It's just it's just at the minimum value. Okay, well we didn't do any automation on it, and
You
oh,
could have.
we could have done.
We
We
could have.
chose not to. Um, this has also got the Haas effect on. Look at that. And what these like a lot of our backing elements, like the shakers here, you can see these are being sidechained to the main like program drums. So like it's just going to allow, if you take a look on the shakers, you can see it like ticking away with like the offbeat hi-hats and the clap. And then here you've got like the side chain to the kick, which is also going to give it a little bit more groove as well. And also make sure that the kicks punch through. So we got the, I think some perks here. This is like a mid-focus perk, which is going through a vocoder to add a little bit more noise. Just give a bit of that kind of sound. Then we have this, which is another kind of noisy element, more so in the higher mids. Then we have this. This cool, like, sort of trippy, like, perk loop, which is, again, very subtle. And you got this. A lot of these, like, very rhythmic, plucky kind of sounds here. And then another one, so these, like, lo-fi versions. And we also have a ride as well, which is very, very subtle. I see this quite a lot with people that when we open their projects and take a look at them, but like people usually have their rides so loud, and it just is very overwhelming and sizzly. Like in this kind of style, it's more meant to be felt than heard. So for example, if you take it out, like it's just a little subtle sizzle in the back end.
Exactly. It's just more about creating sense of like atmospheric noise rather than actually driving like techno ride, you know?
Yeah, because some people have them like this, and it's like it's just completely overwhelming.
That's Richie Horton or something, you know?
Yeah, or like metal rides,
Yeah,
which obviously I love. But yeah, and then you've got like your kick, which is just a well, kind of is it a kick? It was a kick 2 preset at the time.
Do you know what it was? Oh, that's actually one of those ones I did with from Spiral, I think. I definitely remember we did a kick where you'd sent me a sample and I just dropped it into kick 3 to shave off some bits of it that I didn't like.
mm,
And so it's quite a cool use of kick 3 where if you've got a drum sample that you really like, but there's like a weird noise on it or something, you want to change out the transient, you can just do it in kick 3. It's very cool.
yeah, kick 3 is very versatile. But I think we might have done this on kick 2 because this was quite a while ago. We actually made this,
Yeah.
so but yeah. Anyway, it's um, just a kick
And
3,
it's got
and then we have
a
this
bit of
snapback,
snapback.
which adds a little bit of. This is a fun thing. Adds a little bit of like pre-transient to it.
Yeah, it really makes a difference. It really doesn't it?
Yeah, if you listen in context of the mix, it will just help the kick cut through a little bit more. Like that. It's just this little noise anticipating it, which helps it cut through, which is nice.
Yeah.
And that's mostly it, really. But let me talk. I mean, I've been dying to talk about this part. The drum fill, which is there's some fun stuff going on here. So let me explain. We have a hilariously named drum rudiment here, and this here is what's called a ratamacue, and the reason it's called it's like an onomatopoeic name because it goes ratamacue. Take a listen. Like bump ratamacue. So yeah, if you take a listen to like drum rudiment names, they all are so ridiculous as like the paradiddle, the paradiddle, the paraparadiddle diddle, the ratamacue. But yeah, this is a ratamacue, and it's basically like here you have a tap, and then it's a triplet, but it's like a drag. So on an actual drumstick, you would like basically drag the note, so it goes da-da-da. So da-da-da. It creates a triplet. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. And then we have this like tom flam thing going on. So this is like more on a snarey sound. And yeah, you got the ratamacue, and it's spent a bit of time programming this because we had this little fun trick that Simon, this is one of yours, so maybe you can talk through this little arrangement trick because we've actually used it in
Uh,
both of the tracks we've done, but um you
it's like
you were
the
the genius before it.
false drop.
Yes.
So
So
you kind of get your build up. See, so rather than adding a bar of false drop, which is a lot of people do, they like build up and then have a bit of da, and then
mm,
kick it back into the start of the bar. You actually build up, and then you just drop out the first like what is it like 4 beats or 8 beats. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's 8. So you just drop out the first 8 beats, and then kick it in on the ninth, and it just creates this really kind of interesting like release, but then doesn't affect the flow of the track. It doesn't affect the overall kind of rhythm and the flow of the music. It's kind of surprising. I really like it. I can't remember where I heard it from. Might have been yeah. I can't actually remember. I nicked it from somewhere, but it works really well.
yeah, because well, it's like just like any fake drop, you're anticipating it to drop here, and well, I mean, it kind of does. Like the bass comes in and everything like goes as you would expect, just without the actual like drum elements and drop
Yeah,
part. We also like we don't have the I think you don't have the sub in here. Yeah, there's no sub. Um, and there's none of like the deep plucky part. So you have this like first part of the musical phrase where you're expecting it, but then it's different, and then you throw in a little a McHugh in there, and oh baby,
yeah.
uh,
Then you're off. Then you're off grooving.
exactly. So yeah, that's a little fun thing that we threw in there, which was nice. Um,
Should we do the lead?
yeah, I mean that's probably the important part. So do you want to? Well, I guess you can talk through the compositional side of things because this was your wheelhouse, really, in a lot of ways. So
Yeah. Well,
hold on.
so
So
it's
yeah.
pretty. Yeah, it's like a pretty simple melody, and it's just got this kind of repetition to it and a call that kind of call and response, you know. So it goes down and then it goes up, then it goes down, then it goes up and then up a bit more. So it's a kind of I think it's like an A B A C kind of structure.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Um,
super nice, man.
yeah, it's nice. It's
And
just kind
then
of it's got a nice flow to it, you know.
yeah, and then when it goes up an octave, like it's a very similar thing. I think there are some like subtle little variations and flourishes that we have in here, but when it's up this octave here, it adds like so yeah, it's like going into this like where the phrase repeats. You have this flourish which takes you up to this higher octave. So if you listen in context, yeah. Then same thing, just up an octave.
But you can, if you get a simple melody, so the da 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 da, but then you can just start to add detail around it, like little passing notes where it goes da 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 or something like that, and you can just do that all the way through the track in different moments. So you create this really simple outline structure, and then just vary it and vary it and vary it in lots of little subtle ways. And that's much, I think anyway, that's much more powerful than writing lots of new parts, like we said before, or changing the
Mm.
melody really substantially. Those little variations are a really good way to keep interest going.
Yeah, because you look through the course of this track, like the melody is playing well practically pretty early on,
Mm.
but what's keeping it interesting is like the little variations and flourishes, and they continue to evolve each time. Um, and then you have like where it goes up an octave, then it comes back down, and of course combine that with a lot of automation. So
Mm.
sometimes we're sending it to this like mixer, which is a long reverb. We're automating the gain a little bit so it doesn't get too loud, but also it feels a bit more alive and breathing. And then, of course, the filter cuts off because it starts off like quite dark over here. It becomes a bit more like plucky, I suppose, because the filter's quite close. It's a plucky sound, but because the filter's closed, it feels more plucky. But then when you open up that filter all the way to the top, it feels a bit more
Proper,
sustained and
proper nice
like
sound, that, isn't it?
lead-like. Yeah,
Like
so
classic diva.
yeah, yeah. But what's nice about it is like how much expression you get from here all the way up to like all the way up to here. Lots of nice little things going on there, and there's like some. Is there crystallizer on there? Did we put
I
crystal?
don't actually think there is. I think it's just a bit of. Oh, is it on the main chain? Maybe sometimes I do add it to that. So if you look on the effect rack, and then you go down to chain,
No, it's not.
no, it's not. So it's just a bit of delay and
This
reverb.
isn't even a Sleepless Skies song if there's no
It's the
crystallizer. What the fuck?
crystallizer. I know. I think it was just fighting for attention with so much other stuff. It was like it has
Yeah.
to go, but it's still very welcome anytime.
Of course, yeah. I was like looking for it. I was like, well, it's surely gonna be there. But anyway, there's, I guess, yeah. Look, there are some like addition. There's a couple of like atmospheric sounds as well in the background that I think they usually are playing the whole way through, right? And they're so quiet. I mean, very, very subtle. I mean, you're looking at this, it's like minus 40 dB, so
Yeah, yeah,
ultra subtle.
yeah,
Um, then yeah, we didn't like fully speak about the vocals. We did say that they were there, but you have these like really nice like gated vocal things going on with like this gated one here. It's got the trance gate on, which is giving it a little bit more like rhythm, which is
yeah,
nice. And then there's this vocal stab.
yeah. Just finding some interesting little vocal. It just shows you how you can create a kind of almost like a little. It's almost like a little verse just out of vocal chops and samples and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think they're actually saying
No,
anything. I think that these are just ad libs.
yeah, it's just ad
Yeah.
libs. But they like from a songwriting point of view, they kind of perform the function of a verse. It
Mm.
gives you a focal point of a verse to then allow you to do a contrast of a chorus too. So you have bit where the vocals playing, bit where it's not, and it sort of has that effect, even though there's no words.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a big advocate of using vocals in productions, like even if they are like subtle like this, because naturally, like even if you are the biggest techno snob in the world and you're like, I only like instrumental music and I hate sing-alongs, like those same people will be, singing along to Bohemian Rhapsody after a few beers. It's who are you fooling? Everybody loves vocals and singing along, even if it is just more like subtle and nuanced in the background. Like the human ear is just very attuned to vocals or like the voice. So we like hearing it because we are humans. So yeah,
Yeah,
throw it in,
totally,
even if it's
totally.
subtle. Um, there's also some ARP action going on now. I think we froze it for CPU reasons at the time before I got my ultra steroidal Mac. But we've got this where I think is it just playing the same thing the whole time? I think it is in
Is
terms of the MIDI.
occasional notes that it goes up like a little. It's got a little kind of melody almost to it,
Okay, yeah, there's like this is also
which is
automated
repetition.
like crazy. Oh yeah, there's a high oscillator that comes in, yeah.
Yeah,
Here. There's a lot of automation on here. So, if you take a listen here, it starts off quite dark. very plucky, and the attack on it is very short. But then when it comes in here, let's just bump up the gain a bit so you can actually all hear it. So yeah, it does open up quite a bit. And if you follow the contours of the automation, like over here, there are points where it gets pretty crazy, and then the high oscillator comes in towards here. So yeah, that's a nice little addition in there. And this, like in the background, it's quite subtle. If we get it back to where it was and unsolo everything, it's just sitting there in the background to give a little bit more, like, I guess, harmonic richness to the track. I mean, it is already a pretty harmonically rich track, but it gives a bit more rhythm as well on top of the
Yeah,
pads.
it's the rhythm as well is really important, right? Like it's important to have musical elements that provide rhythm. Because if all you get relying on is your drums for groove, then it just feels like the track's a bit kind of separated between melody and drums. You want to have some rhythmic musical elements too, I
Yeah, for
think.
sure. Exactly what we're saying with the bass here.
Mm.
Like that's, you can break down all music to, like, it's basically three things: rhythm, harmony, and melody. And some elements are going to act in, well, potentially all of those categories in
Yeah.
some cases, but multiple of those categories. And it shouldn't just be drums, like you say,
Mm.
holding down the rhythm fort. Um, like these little subtle rhythmic supports are very, very important, and harmonic supports as well. Like there was, I think we forgot about the LFO pad, which was it this one where we just played? Oh yeah, the LFO wob, the classic. I
Oh
think this
yeah.
was one of the original parts that I sent over that we like. Hey, this was absolutely crazy initially, but it's like this LFO pad, which also has a like accelerating LFO and then a pitch bend. So at certain points, it's quite obvious, but here when it comes in, if you take a listen, and then bends up. So if you
That's
take that
nuts.
down, when you listen in context, it's very subtle. But is this going into the drop? No, this is the transition. Maybe take a listen in context. It's subtle, but adds a little bit of extra little ear candy.
Yeah, and that panning just allows it to kind of coexist with everything else. It's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of signifies to the listener, like, hey, there's something's about to change, and watch out, kind of thing, but not taking too much away from it. Now, look, I've actually used this exact element and style for like a leading component because, if you go really crazy and push it hard, then it can like absolutely go crazy. But yeah, that's the track, guys. Link is in the description if you want to go check it out. Well, don't don't not go check it out after all this. Go give it a listen.
Or
Support.
a million listens. A million?
Ideally a million,
A
yeah.
million listens? Yeah, something like that'd be good.
Because
That'd be
that'll
ideal.
really help us out. Music is hard and everything. But look, this was a fun one, guys. So go check out the song. Go check out Simon's channel. Go check out my channel. Have fun. And yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Anything from you, Simon? Some final words of wisdom?
Music is about vibes as well. You forgot vibes earlier. It's really important. Yeah, man. Oh, it's been really good hanging out with you. Nice to see you.
Likewise, brother.
All right.
Well, I'll catch you very soon. And yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.